I phoned a GP and got an emergency appointment and went up to see him. And he refused to do a blood test on Hollie. And he gave us, just a bottle for Hollie to put a urine sample in and to put into the post, and was very sort of dismissive of us both. We did that, and it came back negative. And after that, there was about a further 10 days went by, and on the 5th of September, all these people turned up at my front door. And I was about to make lunch for Hollie, and I decided, I had to go down to the bin room, with some garbage. And I came down 2 flights, opened the front door, went outside, and there was maybe about 10 people standing outside my front door. And passed them, went to the bin room, came back, and the GP that I had changed to spotted me and came walking towards me. And she said, "Mrs. Mackey?" And I went, "Yes." She says, "Will you come inside, please?" And I says, "What's for?" I says, "What's going on here?" And she says, "Will you please come inside?" And I says, "I want you to tell me what is going on," because there was police and everything there. And she says, "Well, we're here to section you." Well, I don't know how your listeners would react if they were told that, when there's nothing wrong with them. But I didn't take too kindly to it, believe you me.
Yeah.
And I says, "There is no way this is going to happen." I says, "This is, my husband's life, And I says, "This is just appalling." And 4 men came towards me. I was lifted up by these 4 men. I was thrown on the floor of the apartment building, and my trousers and my pants were taken down in full view of my neighbours, and I was screaming, and I was injected and knocked out. And my neighbours were shouting, "Leave her alone, she hasn't done anything." And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a mental hospital in Aberdeen, not knowing what had happened to my daughter or nothing. And I woke up actually with 2 doctors taking blood out of my arm, which I thought was, an invasion of, my body as well, without my permission, For all they knew, I could have been Mormon or something like that, And for the next 3 days, I, had to fight, to prove that there was nothing wrong with me. And I got a lawyer in. I phoned a helpline, and on the helpline I told them what had happened to me, and they said that if I didn't agree to what they were saying, that they could, because I was sectioned under Section 24, and this person said that if I didn't agree with what they were saying, that they could section me under a Section 28, and if I didn't agree with what they were saying again, that they could section me under a Section 18, which was a 6 months detention.
Okay.
And so she advised me, she says, whatever they say, she says, just agree with them, And she says, then when you get out, because if you agree with them, they can't detain you any longer. And once you get out, she says, then you can start your fight, for the injustice that has happened to you. So when I was in the hospital, this Dr. Palin said that I was suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, and he wanted me to go on to this drug called risperidone, which I've since found out kills your memory. It's like a tablet form of lobotomy.
Sheesh.
And needless to say, I didn't, take the drug. And when I got out, that's when I started my fight, for what happened to me.
And are we still back in around 2000 when this happened then?
That is correct.
So
September of 2000.
Right. So you've been basically fighting this for 10 years now then?
That is correct, yeah.
Oh my God. And what, if you don't mind me asking, then what was Hollie doing in Brazil? And was she with her father at that time, or because that seems to be the root of where it started then?
Well, what they were trying to do was, sort of say that I was an unfit mother, so my husband could get custody of my daughter. When I was detained in the mental hospital for 3 days, they came into my home, took Hollie and put her into care, in a place out on the outskirts of Aberdeen. And while she was there, they took my daughter and took her to see her father and left her with her father for that day. And they knew, Hollie had already told the police that this man had abused her, sexually assaulted her from the age of 6, but yet they took her there, and Hollie was left with this man, this animal,
Oh God! And so, why don't we talk a little bit with Robert here in the meantime, and see when you got involved in this case? Then, Robert, how many years now have you been involved?
Well, only just over a year, actually, Henrik. I think it's very important at the outset. Anne has probably given you some idea already about precisely what we're up against. We're up against really state-sponsored attacks on children. It's not just the police. It's not just certain professionals who are involved in all this. It is effectively backed by the current regime in Scotland that has really no regard for the human rights of its most vulnerable citizens. And this is what we're up against. Now, obviously, Scotland is a wonderful country, and the overwhelming majority of people in Scotland, and I'm sure people who visited the country will follow this, some of the kindest and decentest people you'll find anywhere in the world. But unfortunately, a very unrepresentative, unelected, and elitist cabal are effectively running the country. It's obviously, Scotland is a nominal democracy, multi-party, but in fact, any party that rules Scotland is a puppet government and is effectively controlled by a powerful group which mainly consists of bankers, big business people, and most significantly of all, representatives of the very powerful legal firms that exist in Scotland, and they virtually control everything. They certainly control the press. And nothing, any of these atrocities by any point once approach any of these people who are to do with cases like Hollie's and many other cases, never see the light. The Scottish people never hear anything about it. No people are brought to trial because that is the way the regime operates. Right. So I knew it was going to be very difficult right from the start. I was brought in. There are many loyal Scots who've been working, and patriotic Scots who've been working in the background, because working in a country like this, it's hard to believe in Western Europe. People think, oh, Scotland, it's got a wonderful reputation, it's part of the United Kingdom, liberty and humanity and all the rest of it. It's absolutely nonsense when applied to Scotland. Scotland, in many ways, is almost like working under the Nazis or the Russians under Stalin. The situation is that bad. And people, the outside world don't know about, even the Scottish people sometimes are not aware themselves unless they have the misfortune themselves or the family falling foul of the authorities. It's what I would call an extreme fascist state in the way that it operates.
Well, I just want to interject here and actually mention some things that have been going on up here in Sweden. Similar stories. We actually have to go back to around the 70s, late 70s up here. This is at least what we know so far. The latest one was called actually the Geijer affair here, and people like Olof Palme, the praised prime minister, have actually as well been accused of being a pedophile. And this story broke about 2 years ago now as well. And it's been a little bit touched upon in the mainstream, but not that much at all. And basically what we can say is that the scenario that we're looking at is just as you said there, Robert, that this is actually happening in a lot of Western European countries as well. England, now Scotland, Sweden, Belgium as well. Obviously, it's a big ring going on there. But these have connections to Mexico and Brazil as well. And I don't know how far you guys have come in terms of monitoring this situation as a global network. But this is what it seems to me to actually be at this point. Have you found any evidence for that at all, Robert? That this is more of an international thing?
Well, I haven't got any evidence. I have to say that, but obviously people from all over the world are contacting me and telling me about similar problems in their own countries. And I think it's especially significant that you mentioned Sweden again, because in a way, Sweden, in a slightly different way, rather like Scotland, I think is regarded by the outside world of one of the most civilized countries in the world. And people would be staggered to hear that this kind of thing would be happening in a country like Sweden.
Right.
Just as I think they'd be staggered to hear that the things that are happening in Scotland.
Yeah.
So it is alarming that the countries with perhaps the most